Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, accountability, trust, and a whole lot of training. That's what it takes to be a part of Sarasota's Canine Search and Rescue Team, a nonprofit made up of volunteers who dedicate their lives to helping others. And coral cryopreservation. We learn about a new scientific project underway that uses cutting-edge techniques to preserve endangered corals. And a rare case of cancer in the cow-nosed stingray. We're sharing the story of Dominica in recognition of World Cancer Day. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. We start this week's show learning about a team of humans and canines who spend their time helping others. Sarasota Canine Search and Rescue is an all-volunteer group based in Sarasota, Florida. They don't get paid, and the work is often tedious with lots of time spent training and earning various certifications. The group also spends time educating the public about their mission. And so we recently met up with some of them at a county festival, where, as you will see, the spotlight doesn't distract these dogs from doing what they do best.
Heads up.
Sarasota Canine Search and Rescue is a not-for-profit. We are a 501c3. We base out of Sarasota, but all of our members are anywhere from St. Pete, south, north. We have a lot of different members who maybe are retired law enforcement or still working in law enforcement or the fire company or just whatever job that they had done. And now we have some that are retired. Fortunately, I'm retired now. But we started back in 1996 working with the county. We actually got a county contract with them. So we do have an insurance for if we ever got into any kind of issues or liability, we have insurance. So, and we help out a lot of the different agencies. Like next week, there's the Sarasota County Sheriff's Active Shooter Drill. So we'll be participating in that. We're all volunteers. And being a 501c3, as you know, you have to fundraise. So we do, it's just part of the qualifications to be in a not-for-profit. So we have a lot more to lose than the paid people when we're called out because our credibility. So we've worked very hard. Our biggest training is we have to be trained in ICS, which is Incident Command System training. You see a lot of the fire company, they all use it because for mass, things, you have to be able to work within it. So by understanding it, we can work within their system and know how to help. So besides training our dogs, if we are a dog handler, and like Nalu here, she's taking a little break. So besides training our dogs, we do test our dogs every year. It's not a qualification, but it is for us because of our standards. We keep very high standards. So besides the training that we, as the human part of aspect of the training, we have to also train our dogs, and whatever their discipline is, we need to certify them every year in that discipline, whether it be tracking trailing, which finds live people missing in large areas. We have our human remains detection dogs, HRD, and we work cold cases as well as other criminal cases. We have about 20 dogs on our team right now, all in various stages of training. When they are deployable, that means the human handler has already passed all of their certifications and training they have to do. You have to have your medical training, some background in case you find somebody, you have to know what to do. Map, compass, GPS, as well as if you have a dog, training dogs. But not all of our members have dogs. They are support personnel. They are observers because we never send just a handler and a dog out to do a search. We always send somebody else out with them. If it's a criminal case, most likely we'll have law enforcement with us also. We don't stay just within our county. We've done numerous cases over the years all around the state, as well as out of state. People don't understand that a dog is more than just a dog that you tie up and leave outside and throw them some food once in a while. I mean, it's amazing the ability they have to read people and, you know, their moods, and to always be happy. They can always be happy. If you give them that love, they give it tenfold back. So it's very, very rewarding. And when you work with a dog, when you have that extra bond for a case that you were on, and you know, you share that. And you depend on each other, because I'm reading her body language and helping her as she is doing her job, and she can certainly read my body language. So it's just a very rewarding aspect of the job. I couldn't imagine life without a dog. I couldn't. You'll see we have a number of different dogs. Some are mixed breeds, but we do have purebreds. She is a German Shepherd. She's a sable. We have standard poodles. We have Springer Spaniels. We have Malinois. And just a number of different German Shepherds, Labs. They're all dogs that what you look for is a dog that has a high play-prey drive. In other words, you'll tire out before they do when you're throwing that ball. The hunt drive, because that's what gives them, a dog that's a couch potato isn't really going to want to go out and work for maybe, 1, 2, 3 hours, tromping through the woods. As long as they have what it takes to want to. And then temperament has to be top priority, because if you're finding a child or an elderly person, you can't have that dog be aggressive in any form. So the dogs that come out here for public relations have to have their canine good citizenship. For younger dogs, younger than a year, they don't need that, but after that, they have to have that before they can come out and prove that they can handle this kind of thing. And this is even training for them, because they have to be able to work in an environment with noise and crowds, and if they're doing a job and told to go to work, they can tune that out so they can concentrate on their job. We have to get them comfortable in working on different conveyances, because they may have to get to search from a boat or get to a place in a side-by-side. Helicopter, so the airboat. So most of them have had that training to be able to be on it and comfortable with it, because sure as anything, you show up and you go, oh, it's in an airboat. and also the sound, the sound of the airboats or the helicopter. You don't just throw them right onto a helicopter. You get them used to it when it's cold and not running, loading, unloading, and then you'll stand back and just let them listen to the sound of it and then the wind and the downwash. So you have to get them comfortable with that and then move them in. Once they're in, they're fine. It's like a car ride. Our olfactory, or our nose, we can smell, it's like 300. Theirs is like 10,000. The olfactories, they have more of the senses to be able to do that. For instance, and you'll hear the analogy about the stew cooking on the stove. We go into the house, you smell that wonderful aroma of the stew. The dog goes in the house, they smell that, but they smell each individual ingredient that has been put into that stew. The carrots, the celery, the seasoning, the meats, the potatoes, whatever's in that. They can pick out all those minute little differences in that, and that's pretty incredible, pretty incredible. For me, and why I've been in it for so long, since '96, is because I love helping people, I love being in the outdoors, and I absolutely love working with dogs. It's just a huge win-win for everything. It's kind of my purpose, to be able to help, whether it's to help solve a case and put a bad guy away, bring a loved one home. It's our purpose.
For more about this group, or if you have any interest in becoming a part of their volunteer team, log on to SarasotaCanineSAR.net. Coming up after the break, the story of a cow-nosed ray who is beating the odds. And later in the show, cryopreservation, what it is and how it may help save the planet.
Looking to get away for a few days, but nervous to leave your furry friend? Leave your worries behind. At Dante's Den, we offer safe and secure boarding options for your dog or cat. We know your pet is part of the family, so we provide a comfortable environment with experienced caregivers who offer personalized attention. We have a fully equipped medical facility, spacious accommodations, daily activities like swimming and agility, and staff is on site 24/7. Log on to dantesden.org for reservations.
World Cancer Day is observed worldwide every year on February 4th. And it's a way to raise awareness about the disease. And the Florida Aquarium has had an unlikely patient, one you don't hear about often in conjunction with cancer. During a routine exam, Dominica, a cow-nosed stingray, was diagnosed with a form of leukemia. The good news, veterinarians detected the cancer early and have successfully managed it for years. They're sharing her story because they feel this rare case underscores the importance of proactive health monitoring for marine life.
Just like people, you go to the doctor annually just to make sure everything's okay. The same thing with our animals. Our animals can't talk to us, so they tell us by their behavior and their appetite how are they doing, as well as their body condition. Normally, if everything is okay, we do an annual exam on them, and that will alert us of any underlying things that we physically can't see. Dominica is our cow-nosed ray that we ended up getting from Clearwater Marine Aquarium along with her mother, Taurus. She was the pup of our geriatric population, and then on a routine annual exam, we found out that she had cancer.
When Dominica first came to us, she was that very stubborn, very young individual. She refused to eat anything other than shrimp, and she was very particular about how she ate it and how all of her food was prepared. She ended up developing an anemia because she wasn't getting enough iron from her food. So we worked really hard with the animal health and animal care's teams together to get her eating a more well-balanced diet. Once we were able to do that, we actually were able to reverse the anemia that she was showing us and get her back towards being a really healthy, stubborn, juvenile cow-nosed ray. About a year after we got her, in July of 2021, Dominica presented with some really abnormal blood work findings that we found on an absolutely routine annual exam. We were concerned because of her potential for anemia and making sure that that didn't relapse. When we got her blood work back, we found something we were completely not expecting. The white blood cell count of a cow-nosed ray should be between 10 and 15,000 white blood cells. Dominica's came back at 108,000, so about 10 times higher than it should have been. Looking at her ultrasound, we found that her spleen was a little bit enlarged. And we definitely raised some red flags from seeing both a very high white blood cell count and an enlarged spleen. So we sent her blood samples out to some very specific labs and some world-renowned cytology evaluators and clinical pathologists, and we were able to find that she showed the markers for chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or a type of blood-borne cancer.
We have to be a little bit more hands-on with Dominica so that way we can take more regular diagnostics. As we continue with Dominica's treatment, we decided to put her on a steroid, and then we also did the routine blood draws to make sure that her medication dose was appropriate for her, and especially as she grew, the dose would change. So we would monitor her white blood cell count, see if we had to make any adjustments. With that, that meant more hands-on with her, so we got more regular blood draws and then also the ultrasounds to monitor her spleen. And then as we were able to watch her over the past 3 years, we've been able to reduce the amount of handling that we've had to do with her because she's been so stable. So that we're happy about, and we still have a special diet for her so we can monitor her intake, and if she decreases in any way, that is something that animals tell us something might be up because they can't tell us how they feel. And so we don't know if something's wrong with her, but her appetite can tell us something. But as of right now, Dominica does great. She eats fantastic, and then she handles all of our handlings really well, and we haven't had to do it as often now.
We don't know why Dominica, of all the cow-nosed rays here at the Florida Aquarium, developed these signs or this disease, but we've been able to manage it with long-term medical care, and she is doing absolutely amazing. So cancer, there's actually a lot of misinformation out there that says that sharks and rays can't get cancer, which is a complete fallacy. These animals can get cancer, but it is very rare. So Dominica's cancer was actually only the second case of this type of cancer in a cow-nosed ray that's ever been reported. Dominica's case is a perfect example of why annual care is so important, not only here at the Florida Aquarium, but to each individual. You know, the reason we go to the doctor every year is not because we're expecting to find something or because there's something wrong with us. It's to make sure we're still staying happy and healthy, and they're gonna find things and look for things that we may not know what's going on. We were able to catch Dominica's cancer before she even showed any significant symptoms. She wasn't lethargic, she wasn't having any problems, she wasn't losing weight, we weren't seeing any typical suffering animal signs. We caught this before it got bad. We know that we were able to jump on this as quickly as possible, and we were able to diagnose it and get her on treatments so much earlier this way than waiting for us to find signs on accident. So an annual exam is so important for us to be able to make sure our animals are healthy and catch anything before it becomes a problem. As one of the veterinarians here at the Florida Aquarium, we get incredibly invested in the care of all of the animals here at the aquarium. And I think as veterinarians, we definitely get more attached to our medical cases. Finding a case that is unique, that is not an everyday problem or concern, is even more exciting. Now, we never want any of our animals to be sick, but we are so proud of the teams here, the animal care and health teams and everyone, that we're able to manage this life-threatening disease and give Dominica many more happy and healthy years ahead of her.
People don't realize how much goes into caring for these animals, and it's nice when everything's great. You know, the animals are healthy, but there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know everything. We are still exploring and learning things. So when we're able to be a part of something like this, it means that a future animal that has this situation, we can help with. The information that we gain from caring for Dominica, that if another cow-nosed ray somewhere else presents with the similar symptoms, we can tell them her story, and then that just becomes a huge database. And that's basically what the aquariums and zoos around with the AZA accreditation are doing. We're creating a database for how do we care for these animals? How do we care for future animals? And that's what makes this worth it.
Stay with us. There's more Animal Outtakes coming up next. Coral reefs around the world and here in Florida are in dire shape. Threats include warmer waters and pollution, among other things. But this news is nothing new, and many have been working toward finding ways to save the reefs. Currently, there's a project underway to try and preserve endangered corals. It's using a process called cryopreservation. The Florida Aquarium recently hosted a collaboration of scientists from all around the world.
It's really exciting to be part of this amazing international team and working on this really important project to conserve the future of pillar coral.
The events of the last year and the warming of those waters were a clarion call to all conservation biologists, and getting coral conserved in as many ways as we can. One of the ways is here in live culture at the Florida Aquarium, but another very important way is through cryopreservation.
The increased incidence of coral bleaching around the world is far outpacing the rate that corals can naturally adapt to those increasing water temperatures. And so it's really valuable, or it's really important that we're securing as much genetic diversity as we can now while healthy reefs are still out there, but developing tools that can help us to restore and recover some of those reefs into the future.
We're here at the Florida Aquarium's Coral Conservation and Research Center with scientists from around the world. We have experts in coral reproduction, cryobiology, and engineering, and we're working on freezing or cryopreserving the larval stage of the pillar coral. Pillar coral is highly endangered, and we lost a large portion of the population to stony coral tissue loss disease. We have living specimens here at our center that spawn every year on their annual cycle. However, living collections are very expensive to maintain to keep a species from going extinct. What we really need to do is be able to freeze the tissues from this coral. However, we currently don't have the technology to freeze fragments of coral, but we are working on developing the technology to freeze the swimming coral larvae.
So we've been able to cryopreserve coral sperm for about 15 years. And so we've got thousands of samples from over 50 species stored in biorepositories all around the world. And that's a really valuable genetic resource. But to be able to use those sperm, we need access to fresh eggs. And so that means that we can only use those genetics during those really brief annual breeding periods when coral is spawning. And so by being able to cryopreserve coral larvae would allow us to produce new coral recruits to put out onto the reef at any time of the year. And that will be a really valuable tool for reef restoration.
Freezing pillar coral larvae and then successfully thawing them and settling them here at our center would be a huge step forward to prevent pillar coral from going extinct. These frozen larvae can be kept in a secure biorepository for years, decades, maybe even hundreds of years, and then thawed whenever they need to be used for restoration of the species.
It's really exciting to be here to try and push this technology forward, try and deliver new tools to help support some of that reef restoration activity that's happening all around the world. If we can recover these larvae from these threatened species, then that would be a world first to be able to cryopreserve coral larvae and recover them at that scale.
We were the first to actually spawn the pillar coral in human care. The corals came to us when they were rescued from stony coral tissue loss disease in the wild, and some of them have been living here since 2016. And we were the first to have these corals spawn in our care and produce offspring. So this is a really valuable resource to researchers who are looking to develop new techniques like this larval freezing work.
We have some of the best cryobiologists in the world tackling this problem for corals, and not only is it a really interesting biological problem and interesting and important conservation problem, but it's also spreading our knowledge around the world and accelerating our ability to be able to conserve in this way, and hopefully to help slow the demise of corals around the world.
Officials now say the international scientists have had some success and are continuing to work on the process. We'll be right back.
Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org.
We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some educational and engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.